We sure have come a long way as DXers from our days of sitting and kind of anchored to a desk where we had a radio, or maybe we were portable, maybe we were out and about, but we had a radio, dial, display of what frequency you're on, volume, maybe some headphones. But you had this little device that you either had to carry with you or was kind of anchored to your desk, and you DXed one frequency at a time. Maybe you could bounce back and forth between two frequencies if you're trying to like parallel or something, but if you're listening at 600 kilohertz at 9 o'clock tonight, you're missing what's happening on 610 and 620 and 630 and so forth. Not anymore. Thanks to SDR technology, we can actually DX the entire, or at least a very good portion of, the DX band, the AM band, FM band, whatever it might be. DXers around the world are using this technology to increase the amount of DX that they're logging significantly. The methodology that we use to get these, to be able to add these in, is by taking advantage of the fact that we can DX an entire band or a large portion of that band at one time. We don't have to just focus on a single frequency. That means, though, recording the band and then reviewing it later. And that is something that takes a little bit of technique. And we're going to talk about that today here on DX101. So, you guys know I'm a big SDR guy. I still love my traditional radios, but I have adapted and adopted SDRs into my DX world. And quite frankly, I started in 2018 with an AirSpy HF Plus Dual, and I never looked back. It's been that dramatic of a difference that having SDRs has made for my DX. Software-defined radios has opened up this whole new world for DXers, whereby you're not tethered to the frequency that you're on at the time that you're listening at that moment. I still live DX, but predominantly spending a lot of time listening to recordings of stations that I have DX'd. So now that you know kind of the why we're here today, we're talking about using SDRs to get as much into my logbook as I possibly can, or your logbook, right? How? How do we do that? And this came from a conversation I recently was having on social media, as a lot of my video ideas honestly come from that, talking with other DXers and going, that's a good question. I bet you're not the only person that's wondered that. And so then I kind of dive into it and make a video out of it. So that's what this was born from, a conversation with a DXer on social media about reviewing recordings and the techniques that we do that with, or do with for that. And I was talking with him about particular software that I used for this. And for me, predominantly I'm DXing on my Perseus, so I'm using Jaguar software. But that aside, it's going to be SDR Console. There are lots of great pieces of software out for SDR. HDSDR is one, SDRUno, SDRSharp, all fantastic programs, especially for live DX. But for my purposes, from my experience, and in talking with a lot of other DXers, I'm finding that I'm not the only one who thinks this. SDR Console is the superior way to review those recordings that you have and pull DX out of it. Okay, so we're going to focus today on SDR Console. Some of these concepts we're talking about can apply to other pieces of software. Some will not. Some are proprietary to SDR Console, so you're only going to find it in that interface. But some of the concepts we'll talk about are transcendent upon different platforms you might be using. So what we're going to talk about today is how to record, what that means, how that works. And then once you've done that, okay, now what? I want to go back in and see what all I got, right? I want to hear all that stuff that's there that I've been missing for years. How do you do that? How do you review it? There's a couple different ways to do it. So what's the methodologies I can use to do that? And, okay, so I just heard a station on here. Now what? What can I do with that? Okay, we're talking about those three elements today. And I'm going to sprinkle in some little tidbits and tips and tricks for you along the way of things that I have found help me with my review process. So take those for what you will, but I thought, hey, if I find value in them, maybe somebody else will as well. So let's start by diving in here into SDR Console with how to record and then what to do once you've done that. All right, so here we are in SDR Console. You'll see I'm currently plugged into my Perseus SDR. This is my live AM band as of right now, sitting here in the middle of the day. So if I'm here in Console, let's say I'm doing a live session and I want to get top of the hour IDs. Let's say I want to make sure I get the one that on the frequency I'm listening to right now on my live DX. But then I also want to see what else is there. Or let's just say I want to record top of the hour. I want to record bottom half of the hour. Now, we did a video, which you can find up here in our little link, that teaches you how to do schedules. So if you want to do a unattended autonomous schedule to have it record for you on your behalf, we did a video on that allows you to set these up so that it'll record for you, and then you go back later and review the recordings. But we're talking about now, for the purposes of this video, so watch the schedule video. For this one, though, we're talking about, hey, I'm DXing, and I want to record what I'm hearing and then go back in and see all the stuff that I missed. Gotcha. All right, so to do that, I click on my record playback tab over here at the top, and I hit record. Now, you'll have an option, just like with a scheduler, I can call this whatever I want. I can call this sunset, sunrise, overnight, beach recording, whatever it's going to help me remember what it was that I was doing here. Or you can leave it exactly as it is. That'll be fine too. Now, when it does this recording, and this is important to know because everyone's using different SDRs, Perseus has a 2 megahertz bandwidth. What that basically means is it sets up around 1150-ish, somewhere in 1150-ish range, as the center frequency, right? And it says that is the middle, and then it basically goes out about a megahertz either way. Now, obviously, you don't need a full 2 megahertz to get the entire AM band. You're going to have a little overlap, which is fine. But the Perseus, I can record the entire medium wave band. If you're on an AirSpy HF Plus Discovery, you get about 910 kilohertz, which actually comes out to about 800 and something in bandwidth. Basically, I can get everything from 530 to 1380. And I can get everything from 1710 down to, I want to say it's like 950, 930, 960, somewhere in there. Somewhere in that ballpark. If I set my center frequency at 950, I get the low end of the band. If I set it at 1250, I get the upper end of the band. And there's a little bit of overlap between the two. So you can offset that. That's what I usually do. Like in Omaha, I would do, today I'm doing sunset recordings on the lower half of the band, sunrise recordings on the lower half of the band. Now tomorrow I'm going to change that and do sunset upper half, sunrise upper half, whatever. You can however you want to do it. But that center frequency is the important thing to note if it doesn't record the entire band, because that's going to determine where in the band you're going to be recording. Or let's say you want a high fidelity and you want to shrink this bandwidth. Right now I'm at 2 megahertz, but I can go down to 500 kilohertz. And so now that center frequency is super important, because now you can see I'm sitting at 1120, and if I zoom all the way out, that gets me about 880 to about 1350-ish, maybe 1360 if I'm lucky. Yeah. So, yeah, you can see if I want to shrink my bandwidth, I have that as an option as well. But we're going to go back to the 2 megahertz because I want to just be easy here for us. But, yeah, center frequency, the bandwidth goes out from that. That's what's going to give you that recording capability for either a portion or all of the band. Here's 2 megahertz. I'm at 1120. Everything out on either side. And to do that center frequency, by the way, let's say I want to use 1020 as my center. I find my frequency, and then I hit this little button right here. That centers it. You can also go, actually you can't here. So yeah, I just click this little button right here. When I hover over, you'll see it pop up. boop, and that does it. All right. So let's go ahead and record. Let's do a little recording here and show you how this works. So I hit record. Again, I can title it whatever I want to. I chill it. I tell it where to go put the file in my folder on my hard drive or whatever. I hit start, and now it's recording. And you'll know it's recording because down here at the bottom, you'll see how long it's been recording, how big the file is that you've written, and how much storage space you have left. I'm running a little tight. And then whenever you're done, when you think you're good to go and you've got what you want to have, you hit stop, and that'll be it. Okay, now you have a file that you can then go back and review. When I record, I usually do top of the hour. I have settings, schedule set up to do from about 57 till about 7. So about a 10-minute window from, I'll call it 58. 58 after the hour, 2 minutes till about 7 after. It stops at 7 after. And the reason for that is a lot of, especially overnight, a lot of stations that carry network content, the rejoin, so you'll have like top of the hour news like ABC or Fox or CBS or whoever. Then they'll do commercials, which usually network commercials, right? National ones. Then you'll have maybe some local content, and then the new hour of the network programming, coast to coast or whatever, starts around 6 or 7 or so, maybe 5, depends on the network program. So somewhere in there is when that rejoin happens, and usually coming into that rejoin, you're going to hear an ID or a slogan or some local content of some sort right before they start back up. So I want to get up till about 5, 6 after. So stopping at 7 after gets me all that. Okay. So let's go look at that. So let's go find a file that I've already recorded. I've got one here from November 24th. 600 kilohertz is my center frequency. Actually, no, I'm sorry. 1536 was my center frequency. No, that's the bandwidth. 600 was my center frequency. Okay, that's why the top is kind of chopped off here. I was wondering why I didn't have anything past 1360, and now I know why, because my center frequency was way down. But that means at the bottom down here, look at all that down here below the band. I've got at my disposal. Anyway, I digress. So this is a recording that I made back in November. So I want to go back in and review this recording to see what I caught, right? All right, so there's a couple of ways you can navigate. Obviously, you can just play the file all the way through and listen to it, but who has that kind of time? I don't. So a couple of things you can do. One, you have the navigator button. And this, for me, this part of the process of navigating through the file, either with this navigator button or what I'm about to show you here in a second, this is what makes SDR Console, part of what makes SDR Console the best tool to use for reviewing your recordings. Plain and simple. It makes it so much easier to navigate through these files. So I'm going to hit navigator, and you're going to see it brings up a couple of blocks here, right? So right now I have a recording at 03, 04, 05. Those are the minutes, right? These 3, 4, and 5. And you see the 2 over here on the far left, that's the hour. So if I have like a 3-hour recording, it's going to say like 2, 3, 4, and then 01, 02, 03, 04, 05, and so forth. And I can just click on those little blocks, boop, and it takes me right to the beginning of that minute. It's pretty awesome, right? Let's see if we have one that's a little longer file. I don't think I do. That's a short one. Maybe, I know that was like 2 minutes. Yeah, that's like 2 minutes long as well. But I want to show you this one because I actually know there's an ID coming up here. I'm going to go to 1400 kilohertz. Okay. And we're going to let this play through for a bit. This is obviously how you change frequencies. You can change over here on the far left. I usually just kind of go in this 10 spot here and go 10 kcs at a time to navigate through. It makes it much easier. Some people also set up like memories, or they'll set aside like different receivers and things like that. And that's fine. You can do that. But I just kind of tend to do it this way. It's easier. You can also, if I have a scroll wheel, you can scroll, which is what I'm doing right now. So those are some options. Let's talk a bit about listening to the file. Let me actually, for a second, let me go up here to 1700. I want to show you an example of something. If you are in an area where you have a very strong station, such as here.
En route. Expect emergency personnel to arrive.
I have a TIS station on 1700. And a lot of people I know DX in AM mode, and when they are DXing next to a strong signal like that, let's say I go to 1690, here's what happens. Nasty, huh? Now, you can tighten up your bandwidth and everything, but it's not going to help as much as you want it to. So what I do in that situation is I switch to one of the side bands. Now, which sideband you choose depends on where your slop is coming from. In this case, I'm on 1690, which is below the slop. The slop is above me on 1700. So I would use the lower sideband because I'm trying to move as far away from that slop as I possibly can. Now, in SDR Console, there are a number of different kinds of lower sidebands. There's regular LSB, there's USB, there's wide L, there's wide U, there's a DSB, there's a ECSSL and an ECSSU. So which one do you use? Well, you can use them all. I tend to kind of stick with ECSSL or U. In this case, I would choose L because I'm again below. And when I do that, watch what happens.
You're listening to the Dan Bongino Show.
So there's still a little bit of staticiness in there from the 1700, but you can see it's so much better now than it was. I actually can hear what's on 1690 now, right? So using those side bands to move away from interference is a great, great help. Let me give you another little tip. Let's say I'm on a graveyard frequency. This is really helpful for graveyards, but you can use it on other ones as well. Let's go to, I want to do 13, no, just do 1240. If you go over here into receive, go to the receive tab, and over here where it says AM right here, click on the little down arrow. You'll see a binaural AM SAM. I have that enabled. What does that do? Well, binaural basically takes those two sidebands and it puts the lower sideband in your left ear and your upper sideband in your right ear. Why is that helpful? Graveyards are a great example of this. If you're ever listening, sometimes, and you can test this out on a station that's maybe not like a dominant station, like a KMOX or a KFI or a WABC or something where, it's really loud signal. But like on a regional or a graveyard where you have a station that's kind of on top, but it's not really dominating, switch between lower and upper sideband. See if you notice a difference in what you're able to hear on one versus another. And a lot of times, one of those, it'll be clearer what you're hearing than it is on the other side. There's many different reasons for that, but this binaural throws those into your left and right ear. And then if you change over to SAM or AM, either one, either regular AM mode or this synchronous AM, which basically is like the old synchronous detection, which is also what ECSS lower and upper is, by the way. It's a form of synchronous detection that kind of focuses on the carrier frequency and kind of helps you eliminate fading and things along those lines. But if I go now to SAM, synchronous AM, and I go back to my playback and I hit play. You notice how if you have headphones on the left hand side, I don't know if it'll translate with the video, but on my left ear, I've got slop from 1230, which is a local frequency. On 1240, I don't. So this is not, probably not the best example because I have that slop there, but if I go like the 1340, do that here. Oh yeah, I have 1350. Everything I have is next to a bigger local station. Let me do 1490. That should be fine. There we go. Yeah, my left ear and my right ear, slightly different. So on these frequencies, especially the graveyarders, it can be really helpful for pulling out IDs. I use this constantly doing my Omaha checks because my noise was pretty high. I needed something to kind of help me sort through a little bit easier, and that binaural really definitely did the trick. So highly recommend trying that out. If you're not in binaural AM or SAM, then you should be in probably ECSSL or U, depending on if you're trying to get one or the other. But I'm doing a lot of binaural DX these days in SDR Console. It does help a lot. So you can also obviously tighten up your filters down here, which will be helpful. But traditionally, I'm kind of using modes to help me get away from noise and things like that and adjacent channels. So let's go over here now to 1400 kilohertz. And we're going to find ourselves.
This is the Boss 103.7 FM WSDR 1400.
Nice ID, right? It wasn't a legal ID. I didn't have a city of license, but I had everything else. That's a nice little air check. I kind of want to keep that. Why would I want to keep that? Let's talk about that. So this is kind of that, okay, I'm reviewing and I find something I like. What do I do with it, right? Well, you have a couple of options. A lot of DXers will then take these little snippets and pull them out. You can use it to post on social media to say, hey guys, what do you think this sounds like? I'm trying to decipher what this guy is saying or this person is saying. Maybe it's in Spanish or another language we don't know, or it's maybe something really weak. And I think he's saying WZTS, but it could be CTS or it could be CTF. Like that, even that clip just now, at first I thought he said FTR, but it's FPR. It's a local station I have here in Hammond. So I want to pull that clip out. Well, SDR Console actually makes this super easy. I know a lot of DXers are taking external software and they're pulling it in to do what they need to do, but you don't really have to do that. SDR Console has that built in. Let me show you. So let's go back and go right before that little air check ID right there. Okay. So now I'm going to go over here in the far left. I have an area that says audio. So if I hit record, I can go over here and let's just say I want to call this WFPR Hammond, Louisiana. It's already got my date and time of the event, not today's date. June 1st, 2022 is not today. 1.4 megahertz. Okay, so it's on 1400 and it gives me the mode. And so then I can go over here, tell it where to save it, and then it'll save this file. Watch.
Playing all your favorite classic country hits. This is the Boss 103.7 FM WSDR 1400.
Okay. Now I go over here to browse. Let me go to my file and let's hit play.
Playing all your favorite classic country hits. This is the Boss 103.7 FM WSDR 1400.
There you go. So I've now pulled out an air check, which, by the way, for those who are not familiar, air check is a term borrowed from the radio industry. When I was in the radio industry, I would record air checks of myself doing IDs or the weather or different things like that I would save to have for like a portfolio of my work. So in our hobby, we kind of borrowed that terminology to basically say the same thing. We're recording a little segment of content we heard. In this case, it's an ID that I want to save either to send to the station and say, hey, I heard you guys. Can you send me back confirmation? QSL, right? QSLs. Maybe you want to do like I do. I upload mine to YouTube. Now I can't upload an MP3 file, so I'm going to show you in a second how to do a video. But maybe I want to upload my files to YouTube so I can save them and share them. Maybe I want to put it on social media. Maybe I want to just have a file or a hard drive filled with these things. It's really up to you. It's your call. It's your DX. But that's how you can do that and pull that out. I also use that for things like, hey guys, I don't know what I just heard here in Spanish. I'm not sure what they just said. Can anyone help translate that for me? I'll pull these out all the time and post them up on social media asking for help. You've probably seen them. So that's how you do the audio piece. What about the video? I want to make a video. I want the whole screen here with my nice, pretty interface, and I want to upload it to YouTube. I have to have a video file to do that. So how do I do that? SDR Console also makes that super duper easy for you. Now, you'll notice here, I did my navigation down here at the bottom earlier. I was kind of clicking on these little boxes. But you'll also notice I've been using these buttons over here. What are these? These are the seek buttons. And basically, you have this little setting right here in the middle, which defines what amount of time, but you can either go backwards or forwards a specific amount of time based on what you've chosen here. Now, I have 5 seconds. I usually either use 5 or 10 seconds, one of the two, but I can just now go back. So then I hit that, and now I've gone back enough seconds to be able to queue up right before that ID. This, again, is one of the great things about SDR Console that they have so much better than everybody else is navigating through these files. If you're listening through and you're like, what did he just say? Did he say FTR or FPR? I can keep hitting those back, and kind of replaying it over and over and over until I can make sure that I get it. I can change my modes. I can change my filtering, do all the different things I need to do. Hit back, change my mode, change my filtering, back. It helps tremendously making sure that you don't miss anything and being able to then, okay, I've heard it. Now I got what I got, queue up my air check and be ready to do what I need to do now to either pull out some audio like we did, or over here on the far right, I have the video section. I can make a video. Watch this. There you go. If I hit browse, I can then go to that file. Wherever you saved it at, you just kind of go to it and grab it. Here's some old ones that I've done in the past. Here's the one I just did, though, right here. And I can go click on it, hit rename, and save it as a new file. Right? I can call that WFPR. Like you see these down here. These are ones that I've done in the past.
They have the tools to deal with it as it happens. It sure doesn't get any better than the Polka Magic Shockmount WKHJ AM 1125. Find out
super easy ways. You don't have to use any external program whatsoever, and you can get both audio clips and video clips directly out of console that you can then do whatever you need to do with. Share them with the clubs, with the stations you heard, on your hard drive, put them up on YouTube, share them on social media, whatever. And they're there for all of eternity. Now, when I first started DXing, my Elmer, my father, told me verification of a station means either one of two things. Either you sent them a report and they sent you back a QSL saying, yep, that was us, or you have a recording. Because if you have a recording of them, nobody can dispute that's who you heard, right? So having a big pile of recordings, in some ways, not always, but in some ways, is just as good as a binder full of QSLs. So something to think about. Another little thing about SDRs that makes it so much easier. I mean, I recently found a treasure trove of tapes that I'd made back in the 90s, unorganized tapes. I don't know what the dates and times and even in some cases the years were these were being made, but you know, I'd have to sort through them and listen to the entire tape to pull out what I need to. Here, it's so much easier. I can just quickly navigate. Let me show you a couple of techniques on how I navigate these files, because I think this is going to be the art of reviewing the recordings and will help you really see how great it can be. There are two main ways that you can review these files. One way is to take a file like we have in front of us right now and review the entire thing from the beginning of the file till it stops, and do that for every frequency. So you can start at the bottom and work your way up, or vice versa. You can pick specific frequencies or whatever, but you're going by the file. And then once you get one file done, you move on to your next. I've done this in the past where I have like my 6 a.m. file, my 7 a.m., my 8 a.m. file, and I just exhaust that one file, and then I go on to the next file, and I do the same thing. that can be helpful. That can be productive. And a lot of people do it that way. So in this case, I would just kind of hit restart here. And I would get all my DXing done on that frequency. And I'd say, okay, we'll go to the next one.
Sending American troops to fight Ukraine or by attacking Russian forces.
That one, okay, and you go to 1420, and so forth. And I just keep going until I've gotten all the frequencies done on that file, and I've wiped that one clean. However, what I have found works best for me is a little bit different method. I'm actually going to open up a file here. This is from an eSkip opening that we had a couple of days ago here in Mandeville. And let me cue us up here onto 92.1. Okay. So this is from a eSkip opening we recently had. And I just kind of hit record and let it run. And there's only a handful of frequencies here on FM that really are open usually because we have so many FM stations between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. What I typically will do is I'll DX a single frequency. And let's say I have, in this case, I have 4 recordings that I made of this eSkip opening. So I'll DX that one frequency on one file, and then move to the next, and the next, and the next. And then I get those 4 files done, then I go back to the beginning, and I do my next frequency, all 4 files. So let me show you what I mean. It's very easy actually to do. So let me actually go back here to open, and you'll see I have my files here. Here's 725 at 11:39 a.m. Here's at 1:45 p.m. Here's at 2:58 p.m. and at 3:06 p.m. All 4 of those files are from the FM DX opening that we had that day. So I'm going to open up my first file here, hit play. Easy. Okay. And so I'm going to go through, I'm going to navigate, I'm going to use my markers down here at the bottom or my seek buttons. I'm going to go through the entire file and find where I have IDs. Obviously, FM is a little bit different. AM, you're kind of usually focused more towards the top of the hour. FM, that ID or that RDS hit can happen at any time, right? So you need to be a little more methodical on FM sometimes. But I've gone through the entire file, and now I'm ready to say, okay, let me go back now to the next file that I did, but I'm going to stay on 92.1. Up here, you have 2 buttons on either side of the open button. One says previous, one says next. I'm going to click on next. And that takes me to that 1:45 recording that I did. And now I do the same thing. I go through all of my stuff. I'm at the top of the hour. I'm listening to all my different things in there. Get everything I need to out of it. I'm like, okay, let's go to the next one. 2:58. There it is. And so forth. And then once I'm done, I've gotten down here to my last file here of my 4. And I've gone through that file and everything, and I'm ready to roll. Now, let's go to my next frequency. I'm going to go back, hit open. Here's my file still, that one original one from 11:39. Hit play. Easy. Just go to my next frequency and repeat the process. This helps me. It's not going to be for everybody. It helps me, though, stay engaged. Because I find sometimes, especially after I've been reviewing a lot of files or been doing it for a while, I kind of get a little loopy, a little glazed over on the eyes. This helps me keep engaged because if I'm DXing that one frequency to exhaustion, then I start a new frequency, it's new possibilities, right? If I keep going back through and I'm just doing the entire hour, and then I go to the next hour, and it's all the same stuff I heard the previous hour, I personally start feeling a little lethargic on it. I'm like, all right, I kind of lose interest. So where at the beginning I'm all excited, by the end I'm like, okay, I heard a frequency. I heard a ID rather. I don't need to hear any more on there. Where at the beginning I was getting like 3 and 4 stations on a frequency. Now I'm just getting that one and I'm done, right? No. I do one frequency at a time, and I go back and forth between the files. It keeps me engaged. It keeps me intrigued because I get that one frequency done, and then I move on to my next. And I get all those files done for that next frequency, and then I go back to the next frequency and start over and just keep on going. I find it goes quicker. I find it goes a lot quicker that way. And you can still pull your audio and your video air check stuff out like we did before, but it's just much, much easier to go frequency by frequency. So whichever way works best for you, whichever way you're most comfortable with, but that's generally the 2 most common approaches, either by file, which is really by time, or by frequency, which is one frequency, and then go by file, right? So it's up to you. hopefully that gives you a sense of what options are there. So in summation, we navigate through the files using our seek buttons here. You set the amount of time that you're able to move with the seek button in the middle. You have Navigator, which I can, usually will come to you floating like this, but then I can kind of dock it wherever I want to here, kind of resize it a little bit. The Navigator allows you to quickly move through the files.
800-84. Control is low.
That's super helpful for me during AM DX, or even FM as well. If you're finding, like on an FM opening, there was just a little bit of time where it was open and then it kind of faded, and then it was open again and it kind of faded. You can usually find those pretty easily this way. And then use the seek buttons to kind of fine tune where you're sitting at. Using your modes, your binaural, your upper and lower sidebands, your exalted carriers, things like that, especially on medium wave, obviously, to get away from noise and things like that, to give you better hearing of what you're listening for. And then using the either audio or video clippers to pull out air checks and have those files that you can then do whatever you need to do with. Now, I will admit something. I don't do either of those, the audio or the video. I use a different program. I use Bandicam. Now, this is not a paid ad for Bandicam. I'm not getting anything back from them. I just wanted to kind of mention it here because my videos, a lot of times you guys will see my air checks, like this one here.
From the NHR and Levine Accident Attorney Studios, this is WLCR, W300DL.
Pause. I have my logo right here in the middle. I have my DX Central Online. I have my Twitter handle down there at the bottom of the video. How that stuff got in there is because I'm using Bandicam. It's a software specifically that allows me to do those things. So if you're wanting to do stuff like that, this video option won't allow you to do that. I don't think he's added those in. No, he has not added those in. But Bandicam does allow you to put in overlays like that. And I can also directly upload to YouTube from the Bandicam interface if I wanted to. It's an option I have. So I use this. It's, I think, $50. It gets you a lifetime license for up to 2 PCs. And then there's an upgrade after that per PC that you want to add. You don't have to do this. You know, if you're not needing those overlays and some additional functionality that I have there, if just getting the air check is all you need, either audio or video, then this is going to be all you need, what's in SDR Console. But if you want to add a little spice to it, like I have with my overlays and stuff, Bandicam is a fantastic option. Again, no paid advertisement here, just a product that I like. Paul from Ireland, our buddy in Ireland, uses it. He uses a free version, actually, with the Bandicam watermark on it. And he uses it and posts stuff to social media all the time. That's how he grabs a lot of his air checks, and it works fantastic. I just wanted to go the extra route to get rid of their watermark and open up some extra features. So that's it, really. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. Now you know how to navigate through these recordings that we have, finding stuff. Again, I recommend go watch the scheduler video that we have here to learn how to use a scheduler to set up those automatic recordings so you don't have to be sitting there at your computer doing the live DX if you wanted to record while you're asleep. Man, my Sunrise DX has gotten so much better since I got SDRs. I never used to get up early. I'm not a morning guy. I don't have to. I have an SDR. It helps me take care of that. If this video has been helpful for you, as always, we'd appreciate it if you give us a thumbs up, give us a hit on the like button. Don't forget to leave a comment as well, and subscribe while you're at it, and click on the bell icon so you can be notified when new videos, including our air checks that we grab, are going to be uploaded. From all of us here at DX Central, we thank you so much for your support. Thanks for watching. In the meantime, 73, Best of DX. Let's go see what we found on a recording.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.